Good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Strong and Steady class. My name is Jen, and this class, I've chosen the name Strong and Steady because the movements really are going to be suitable for anyone who wants to be strong, but then also wants to be steady. And if we think about what I mean by the word steady, our steadiness in our body comes from our core strength. So we are going to be focusing a lot on core strength in this class. What that means specifically is I'm going to teach the principles of Pilates and incorporate that in our strength training. It's a little bit of a unique thing that I do in my strength training when I work with my clients one-on-one. And so I'm going to include that in this class and how we think and prepare ourselves and move, okay? So let's start with the definition of our core. So I think about our core as being our shoulders all the way to our hips, and any muscles that surround that area are there to really protect and preserve our spine. So when we talk specifically about preparing our core for our movement, we think about first, additionally, we teach activation of our pelvic floor. So that activation of our pelvic floor is a lifting between the legs. And that feeling might be a feeling of moving up our body, like a pulling up our body. If you imagine trying to pull, as I'm seated here, the weight of my legs up my body, but keeping my legs still, just trying to lift the weight of them up my body. That's the lifting of my pelvic floor. For us women, we are accustomed to practicing this exercise known as a Kegel, which also is similar or really exactly the same feeling as the lifting of the pelvic floor. The next element of preparing our core goes into the components of our core and the deepest layer of muscle tissue. When you visualize that deepest layer of your muscle tissue in your anterior core, it's a muscle called your transverse abdominis. That is the deepest layer. Over that is your internal obliques. The next layer is your external obliques. And then you have this layer that we think of as our six pack, and that is our rectus abdominis. Okay, so that's a brief anatomy for you, but the next layer after activating our pelvic floor, we want to get into, which is deepening our transverse abdominis. So not just that superficial exterior layer, but the deep, deep layer of our core, drawing it in. Finally, that last element that we talk about is the zipping of the rib cage. So we don't want our rib cage to be flaring out. We want to keep it zipped in. Okay, so those are the three real elements that we talk about in terms of getting our core steady and prepared to do any work that we do. Now, on to the work. So what I have today is a folding chair, and we are going to incorporate the folding chair throughout. I also have a stick. So if you've been in Coco, we have a lot of these and we incorporate them in various things. If you are at home and you don't have a 6-foot PVC pipe, that's okay. I'm guessing most of you have a broom handle. And so we will possibly be using this today. If you want to go fetch a broom handle right now, it needs to be sturdy enough, and we'll talk about how we use it throughout. I also have some dumbbells. Now, if you don't have the benefit of having dumbbells, do you have a resistance band? A resistance band can be really useful here. If you don't have any of those, do you have some full water bottles that we could use in lieu of dumbbells? So those are our tools. Hopefully you have them ready. Now, today's workout, we have 4 circuits. In each circuit, there are 3 exercises, and we're going to go through each exercise, and then we're going to do 3 sets in each circuit. And we're gonna do 3 sets of a determinate amount, okay? So for today, let's review the first set. The first exercise is going to be a chair squat, okay? So we can either start in the seated position or an upright position. I'm gonna start in an upright position with a chair right behind me. Now, a chair squat is very important because when we're seated in a chair, the way ideally we're rising up out of the chair is not by pushing off the chair to rise or pushing off our legs to rise. We want to have enough core strength that we're able to generate power to come to standing without using support. So our heels into the ground. Now we can have arms extended or elbows at our side, but ideally we're not going to press off or press off, okay? So we're going to rise, come to vertical, and then return. So that's the first exercise. The second exercise is going to be in boat pose. So boat pose, overhead press. I'm going to position myself sideways so you can see. Boat pose. I have my feet on the ground. My knees are extended out from my hips, but they are not collapsed. They are gently separated. So they're parallel to my hips, and my feet are also on the ground, but I'm lifting my toes up off the ground. So I have a little flexion in my toes and they're lifted up off the ground, okay? Now, I am seated on my sacrum and I'm leaning back, but I'm not slouching into the support. I'm gonna try and support the weight of my torso using my core. So this is my boat pose. Nice flat back, neutral spine, and not a rounded spine. Can you see that? Flat and not rounded. Okay. And I will have one dumbbell, one weight, and it's going to be setting on my chest, and I'm going to push out. But I'm keeping my torso nice and still. So that's the second exercise. The third exercise will be a tricep extension. So maintaining the same positioning with our legs, we're going to have the dumbbell overhead again, and we'll bend at the elbows and lower the weight behind our ears and straighten. So we're creating a hinging movement at the elbows. Okay, now we have the basic elements of the exercise. I'm going to stay in the sideways position so you all can watch my positioning here. Now, if chair squats are something that you can do with ease and you want to add a little bit more intensity, you can grab some dumbbells. All right, so that would be a good addition that you can make readily for what you have here. I'm gonna go without. Now we're gonna start, we're gonna do 3 sets and we're gonna do 10 reps of each exercise, and we're gonna go in a circuit format. So we're gonna rotate chair squats, boat pose overhead press, and tricep extensions, okay? And we're gonna try and keep it moving, but keep it moving with control, okay? So always operate with good control. All right, take a deep breath in and exhale. And as we exhale, that's where we're going through this process of lifting our pelvic floor, deepening and wrapping our transverse and closing our rib cage. All right, inhale, exhale, inhale. Now start your breath, and that's when you move. 1, 2. And I'm focusing here as I'm standing and sitting, not on my knees and the contraction of my thighs. I'm focusing on digging my heels into the ground, contracting through my hamstrings. That's the back of my legs. And I'm also thinking on the lifting of my pelvic floor and the support of my adductors. Those are my inner thighs. I'm gonna do one more. And then come to a seated position. Now let's grab that weight. We're gonna move into our boat pose. So I'm extending my legs out in front. I have knees gently separated, so they're in parallel with hips. Likewise with the feet on the ground, toes lifted. All right, nice flat back. Inhale, exhale. Exhale, flatten and wrap and press. And I'm focusing on staying as still as I can in this position. And I exhale as I move, deepening and wrapping my belly. 7, 8, 9, and 10. Good. Okay, now I'm going to come to a little bit more vertical of a position. Now, if I want that extra tension, I can remain in boat pose, but if I don't, I can come to upright where shoulders are over hips. I'm going to extend the dumbbell over, gather my breath, inhale and exhale. Inhale, starting my exhale and hinge. And again, I'm trying to do this movement as simply and movement free as I can. Nothing here is moving except the hinging of the elbow. And I'm imagining that my elbows are actually tethered together by a string. 8, 9, and 10. Okay, now you can keep this weight in your hands. If you want, you can set it on the ground, but let's add a little extra element into our chair squats. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Now come to a complete stop at the bottom. 5, 6. Now, if you can't do 10, that's just fine. Just stay with me. And I'm not real good at counting. My clients often tell me this. Stay with me until I've finished my 10. Great. Okay, let's stretch back into boat pose. Ready? And exhale. Eight, 9, and 10. Okay, check in with your shoulders and your neck now. We oftentimes in boat pose have a tendency to let our shoulder blades rise up our back. Don't let yourself do that. Keep your tops of shoulders soft, your neck nice and relaxed, and your shoulder blades steady in your back. Okay, now we're going to tricep extensions. So we're back, up overhead. I'm going to go ahead and extend my legs and see what this does for me. Does it make me less steady or more steady? I'm starting my exhale before I straighten my arms. Good. Okay, and lowering with control. Now I'm on to my last round of chair squats. All right, now, if you have your dumbbell and it's in towards your body, you can add an additional element to make this a little bit trickier. So exhale, come to standing and extend and bring back in. Now notice, as I have this dumbbell, I'm holding it with my elbows in. I'm supporting the weight in my lats, in my core, in a nice, safe way. The further out you extend your arms, say if I'm out here and I rise, it's harder, okay? So if it's harder, it might be a little bit more risky. So make sure that if you take this on, that you're physically ready to take that on. Or if you think, maybe I can do a couple of these, but not all of them, just throw in 1 or 2 with the arms extended as you squat and rise. Okay, boat pose, overhead press, last set. Sitting back in boat, shoulders down, shoulder blades stable, belly in, deeply wrapping that transverse. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, sitting up to vertical. Arms extended overhead. I've got my feet planted on the ground now for stability. Okay, that's another variation. Exhale. Actually, let's exhale here. 1. As I start my exhale, I'm making sure to do it before I move. And that is my stimulus to activate my core. Okay, round 1 done. If you need a drink, go ahead and get it now. We're gonna move on to round 2. Okay, for round 2, we have, again, 3 elements. We have chair lunges, bent over reverse flies, and calf raises. So for bent chair lunges, let's talk about a good lunge, okay? I'm gonna use my chair here for support. Now, a good lunge. Now, actually now might be a good time for you to grab a pillow if you need something to help you with your knees, okay? But let's go ahead and get down into our safe half nail position. So my knee is underneath my hip directly, and my leg is extended out, and my balls of my feet are pressed into the ground. I'm gonna have my chair here beside me. This is also where you might incorporate the use of your stick if you have one. Okay, now with this other leg, my foot is on the ground right underneath my knee, and I have a strong, heavy heel into the ground. So that's gonna help me activate hamstring through glute here. And back here, I wanna be thinking hamstring and glute. I call this your back butt. You'll hear me use that terminology over and over again, using your back butt. We have not learned how to do a proper lunge as a human group of individuals. We all just kind of think we know what we're doing. And as we lose our body strength, we end up again pushing off, trying to get out of our half kneel. It's because we don't have the core strength or the glute engagement to get it done. The stick is here to help you activate your core. So as you use your stick, I don't want you to lean into it. I actually want you to fire it in through the ground to help you activate this side of your core, your lat to obliques, through your hip. It's gonna help activate. Grasp that stick, extend it out from your shoulder, and push it through the ground. With the other hand on the chair, you're gonna think heavy left heel, my right knee's into the ground. I'm gonna squeeze my back butt, and I'm going to rise. The goal is to rise straight up. So you can see my stick. You can see that my core is rising straight up. Okay, that is our chair lunges. We're gonna do one side and then the other. Now, bent over reverse flies. Here's where you can use your dumbbells or your resistance band. So a bent over position, we have our knees slightly bent and our feet slightly wider than our hips. And we're gonna hinge at the hips and lower to a flat back. Okay, we don't want to be rounded. We want our shoulder blades drawing back, our armpits engaged. And our reverse flies, our arms are rounded. See how my arms are rounded? And I'm going to pull from my back and open, keeping that nice rounded shape. I'm trying to activate through my lats, through my back. So that is our bent over reverse flies. If I have a resistance band, it's the same thing, pulling from my back. Okay, the last element is calf raises. Now, calf raises, we're gonna do our workout today off 2 feet. We're gonna use the back of our chair to give us balance that we need. And we're simply going to roll from our heels to our tiptoes and hold. Okay, and we're gonna keep both feet on the ground. All right, that's our third circuit. Okay, so here we go, chair lunges. Okay, so I'm starting with the chair on my right, and I'm going to come down onto my right knee. I'll go ahead and use the stick sometimes and not sometimes, okay? So you can see how this goes. We're gonna do 10 on one side, 10 on the other. Inhale, exhale, inhale, and exhale. Go down into that half kneel. Back butt and left heel, rise. 1, 2, and really fire energy into that stick. So you're using it not to lean over and lean upon, but to help you activate your core. And really pause at the bottom. Make sure that you're squeezing that glute. That's the magic right there, is that back butt. Good, okay. Now I'm gonna do this next one from the front. I'm not sure if this angle is good, but we'll give it a try. Okay. All right, here I have my stick. I have my chair here on the side. I'm lowering down into my good half kneel. Now, before we start with this next side, make sure you're in a nice system of right angles, okay? Exhale and rise. Now, if you had 2 sticks, you wouldn't need the chair, or you could use 2 chairs to help you with this. Activate that back butt. Good, okay. Now we have our bent over reverse flies. So I'm gonna do my first set with dumbbells. Nice bent over position. Flat back, knees softly bent, gaze down at the ground. Exhale and pull from the back, shoulder blades retracting, arms are rigid. Now my arms are not straight, they're rounded. So remember that. Keep them a little bit rounded. Imagine that you're pulling your elbows toward the ceiling. Good, okay. Now our calf raises. So back to our chair. Use it for balance as much as you need to, as little as you need to. Exhale. And raise. So that point where we're fully contracting our muscles and pausing, we call that our isometric hold. So as we're rolled all the way up as high as we can onto our toes, that's our isometric hold. We're gonna pause for just a second there. You can really feel your calves contracting and also the muscles in the arch of your foot contracting. Very good for your foot strength. So for those of you that are doing this without shoes on, you're getting a great foot workout as well. Okay, back to our chair lunges. All right, I'm gonna try this at an angled position. All right, so I'm going to go ahead, my right foot is out. I'm gonna step back, so I'm down onto my left knee. 1, 2, 3, and remember, whatever support you have, we're not using it to lean. We're using it to help us activate our core. Now, if 10 reps is too many for you here, stick with 8 or 6, whatever you can do, but always think breath, activate your core, and then move. Good, okay, switching sides. Getting down into my half kneel, using your pillow for support if you need it. Nothing's rushed. I always like to imagine that I have glasses of water on my shoulders. Can I do this movement without upsetting or spilling the water? Okay, now bent over reverse flies. I'm gonna do this next set with my resistance band. Nice bent over position. Feeling a little tension from my lats through my obliques to my hip. to help support my spine. Rounded arms. Exhale and pull. Good, and now calf raises. Now you can play with one leg here if you feel like calf raises are easy on two. Here's where you really identify weaknesses in one side versus the other, very common. All right, so I'm gonna lightly lift one heel. Now notice I'm keeping my knees together. So I call this flamingo pose. And I'm holding the weight of my left leg right now on my left hamstring, okay? Exhale and rise up. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, switching sides. I'm gonna pull that leg up. Now you don't need to do this. I just gotta keep it even. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, and 10. Okay, now we're back to the beginning. Third round of second set. Chair lunges. Ready, steady, and go. Stepping back, getting into that good half kneel. Adjust your feet if you need to. 1, 2, 3. Really focusing on engaging that back butt. Your weight should really be evenly distributed in a lunge. So don't feel like that front leg is doing more of the work. It's like a third, a third, a third. Front leg, core, back leg. Good, okay, switch sides. Find your good half kneel. Squeeze that back butt. Exhale and rise. Are you balancing those water glasses? Good, okay, bent over reverse flies. I'm gonna go back to my dumbbells. Actually, I'm gonna stay with the resistance band. For those of you that are using a resistance band, you might be saying, Jen, why do I have to get into a bent over position? You don't, but it does give you a nice benefit of making your muscles work a little bit differently. So while you get the same muscle action from doing a reverse fly with the resistance band in an upright position, I still encourage you to do it in a bent over position. All right, so here we go. Good, and now calf raises. I'm back to double leg calf raises. Ready? Inhale and exhale. Inhale, start your exhale and raise. I'm just visualizing the composition of my belly as my pelvic floor lifts, my transverse wraps, my rib cage closes, really all as one unit, almost like your core is a pair of bellows that you'd use in a fireplace. All right, good. Round 2 done. Get some water now if you need it, okay? I'm gonna move on to round 3. So round 3, we are gonna work a little bit more. Some of it is going to be standing and some of it is going to be seated. The first element is a hip abduction. So there's 2 words that we use here when we talk about planes of the body and moving. There's abduction and adduction, AB and AD. The way you can, a useful way to remember is whenever you are pulling or adding toward your midline, it's adduction. So if you are pulling toward your midline, that's adduction. If you're pulling away, it's abduction. So here we're gonna work on abduction, hip, okay? So I'm gonna position the chair here so you can see me a little bit better in what I'm doing, but you position the chair where you need to for your best stability. So abduction here, we're gonna extend the leg straight out from the body. Now, what's important here is you check in with the alignment of shoulder, hip, knee, ankle. You want this side to stay totally straight. So if you're using your chair, think, okay, I'm gonna fire in through my chair or my stick to create the stabilizing force on this side. Okay, then my glutes and my obliques are gonna pull my leg away. That is our work. So we'll do one side, then the other. The next element that we're gonna do is seated lateral raises. So here we do need our dumbbells. We need our bottles of water if you have those. And our lateral raises are going to be extending and pulling away until our arms are parallel to our shoulders. Okay, those are lateral raises. And the last element is going to be seated door handles. So with seated door handles, we don't need our weights, and we're gonna extend our arms out. And I'll coach you through this work. We're working on the rotators in our shoulder. So those are the three elements. Now, the first two circuits we did rounds of 10. Now we're gonna drop down to rounds of 8, okay? All right, so let's get started. We have our hip abductions. All right, so we're gonna do one side then the other, 8 on each side, okay? Chairs positioned to the side for me. Exhale and exhale and contract through the oblique. Isometric hold as the heel extends. Now our goal is to keep that leg, that foot, parallel to the floor. If we open up and point our toe toward the ceiling, then we're gonna get a little bit more work done out of our quads, which is not what we want. Now, a comment on what we're doing here. Only raise your foot as high as you can, but keeping good form. So if you are bending over like that in order to get your foot high, don't do that. Only raise as high as you can to maintain good form, nice straight line. Okay, other side. And you should start feeling the burn right here in your buns. Okay, exhale. And as you exhale, contract through the obliques. Good. Okay, seated lateral raises. Reach for those dumbbells, those filled up water bottles. Now we want to sit nice and tall here, neutral spine, feet and knees extended out from hips. I'm a little bit forward on my chair. My arms are extended down from my shoulders. Inhale and exhale through my body setup. I'm going to feel my pelvic floor, transverse and rib cage all deepen and activate. Inhale, exhale and move. Isometric hold as the hands extend out from the shoulders. All right, good. Set the dumbbells down. Now we're going to do seated door handles. Okay, so I want you to extend your arms straight out from the shoulders. So on both arms, my thumbs are pointed up toward the ceiling. Now with my right hand, I'm going to twist and point my thumb down. And then I'm going to imagine that I'm grabbing a hold of a door handle in each hand. And as I work through my breath, I'm going to twist the door handle on each side as far as I can, but keeping my shoulders down. And what I'm visualizing here is not just my core setup, but that deep internal rotation of my humerus bone, that's the bone in the top of my arm, in my shoulder girdle. Nice and slow, working through the fullest movement that you can. 7 and 8. Good. Okay, bring those arms down. Let's go back to our hip abduction work. All right, inhale, exhale. 1, 2, 3. As controlled as you can. Really focus. I like to poke my obliques. Sometimes clients, I found, have a hard time consciously activating their obliques, but when we move on this lateral plane, this is where we really get it, okay? So you can put the finger right above the hips and feel those obliques activate. Exhale. Stay in nice and tall. Good, okay, once you've finished both sides, have a seat for our lateral raises again. So checking in with your good seat. So now I'm on my sit bones, I'm not on my sacrum. So the bony part of the bottom of my hips, that's where I'm seated, knees extended out from hips, feet squarely on the ground. Inhale and exhale. Inhale, exhale, start with your body, set up and raise. Now, I always tell my clients you should be thinking with the muscles you want to be working. So here, I want to be contracting through my deltoids. Those are the muscles that are seated on the top of my shoulders. And really, my upper traps are also helping here, as well as my lats. So my lats, easiestly explained, are under my armpits, and my upper delts are the muscles above and on top of my shoulder blades. Okay, and now let's go back to our seated door handles. Okay, so again, seated on your sit bones, arms extended, my right thumb's pointed down, my left thumb's pointed up. Check in with the soft shoulders, easy neck. Exhale and twist. Rotate. We're turning those door handles. Our arms be pretty steady in space other than that rotational movement. And think about where this is hitting you right now. It should be deep, deep, deep in the shoulder, in the arms. What's causing that bone to rotate is the twisting of the muscles. And that's what we're trying to simplify and feel. 3, 2, and 1. Good. Okay, last round. All right, exhale. Now, if you're watching me like I'm watching me, I'm sure you're not, but I can see that I have a much better range of motion on this side than I do on the other side. It's very normal. We all have deficiencies where we're stronger on one side than the other. Movements feel better on one side than the other. Now, it could be due to overuse. It could be due to lack of use. It could be due to injury. It's really just very difficult to say why each of us has the things going on in our body that we do. That said, I would generally tell you, if you're weak in a certain side, just due to weakness, spend a little bit more time doing it. If you're weak due to injury, if you're positioning a certain way and it hurts, modify your positioning a little bit. If having that foot parallel to the ground doesn't feel good, maybe open up a little bit. Do you have some bursitis in that hip that it's causing you a little bit of pain? So if you rotate and point toes toward the ceiling, it feels a little bit better, that's fine. Okay, now we're back to our lateral raises. Again, reaching for our dumbbells. Seated on our sit bones, feet firmly planted, knees parallel to hips. Exhale and raise. And visualizing your core is as still as you can make it. And the only joint here that's moving, the only place that's working, is that extended arms being pulled straight out from your body. Good, okay, lower those dumbbells to the ground, and now we have our seated door handles. Okay, extending those arms, making sure they're level, lots of space between your ears and your shoulders. Tops of shoulders are soft, shoulder blades are steady in your back. Turn one side down, so my right thumb is pointed toward the ground. I'm gonna reset my shoulders, exhale, and rotate. Now you notice I'm exhaling nice and long with this movement. I'm not exhaling with each repetition. I'm thinking smooth and fluid. So I have a nice long exhale. 2 and 1. Good. Now, by the time you get done with that, with arms extended, that rotational movement, you're probably feeling a nice little warmth in your shoulders. That's good. Okay, now we're on to our last round. Okay, so in our last round here, we're going to utilize the chair in a slightly different capacity. Okay, so we're going to use the chair as though it is helping to bring the ground closer to us in a down dog position. Okay, so down dog is a yoga terminology for getting completely inverted. So if we were in a traditional down dog position, we would have hands on the ground and feet on the ground and fanny all the way up toward the ceiling. We're going to use the chair as a modifier here and bring our palms down on either side of the chair. So we're actually just a little bit more square. So our back is nice and flat, but we're supported. I want you to try and create a little tension in your armpits. Your shoulders are down, shoulder blades are drawn down a little bit. Okay, my knees are underneath my hips and they're softly bent. And I'm actually gonna bring them in just a bit because in this movement, we're just gonna practice this a little bit. We will be doing this a lot more in future classes. We're gonna do some leg raises. Now, I have stabilized all of my body here and I'm going to raise one leg off the ground. The muscle I want to use to raise that leg off the ground is a contraction of my hamstring and glute. So hamstring is the back of the leg, glute is your butt. So as you are watching me, my left leg is facing you. So I'm going to exhale and contract and return. And I'm thinking about my body as though my leg is a drawbridge at a castle. And I'm contracting to raise and lower the drawbridge. Okay, so that's what that movement's going to be. I want to really isolate the hamstring and glute. That's the first movement. The second movement is going to be a chair plank. So we're going to be in the same position here, but then we're going to walk our legs back just a little bit. Okay? And we're going to experiment with this a little bit, maintaining a nice flat back from shoulder to hip, arms and wrists under armpits. And we're going to step back slowly, 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 trying to keep all that tension in our torso and see if we can't get ourselves out into a plank that we can hold for 15 seconds, okay? And the last element that we're gonna do is a seated torso twist. And I'll walk you through that when we get to that. Okay, now, for this last one, we're just gonna do 6, okay? So we did 10 in the first circuit, 10 in the second, 8 in the last, and this one will be 6. Okay, so let's bend over our chair, wrists under armpits, nice flat back. Gaze nose down at your chair, okay? Now, I'm gonna start with my left leg. I'm gonna exhale, engage lat to obliques, inhale, and exhale as I contract through my hamstring, raising my leg like a drawbridge. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Good. Okay. Now the other way. Again, every element wants to be stable here except for that contraction. So exhale. Isometric hold is that heels extending toward the wall behind you. Good. Now we're going to step back into a plank position. So imagine that you're trying to squeeze something under your armpits. Like if you had, I always use this example of a sponge, that you're holding sponges under your armpits. I know that's kind of weird, but okay. Now I'm stepping back, trying to straighten my body. Now this would be my plank. If I can't do that, I can have it a little bit closer. You could even have knees dangling right under your hips. Good. Okay, and that last one, we're gonna come and do seated torso twists. So we're gonna sit on our sit bones. Now, for those of you that have never done seated torso twists, we're gonna cross our arms in front of ourselves. And a torso twist, we're trying to twist through the rib cage. We as humanity typically would have a lot of mobility in our thoracic spine and less mobility down here at our hips. Now that we're seated, ideally we're not going to really have any because we're locking our hips into our chairs. So we're trying to create mobility with our back in this torso twist. So crossed arms. We'll start for the first set. Exhale and twist. And going the other way. Exhale as you twist. And what I really am going for here for all of you is, can you feel the muscles around your rib cage twisting? Try and keep stability in your knees. As you twist and rotate, try and keep your shoulders down and your shoulder blades steady in your back. Good, okay. Down dog leg raises. Back to our chair, squared off, bent over, wrists under armpits, gazing nose down. Exhale, contract and lift the leg like a drawbridge. Don't forget your body setup, belly button lifting towards the spine, rib cage closing. Good, let's switch legs. Okay, get yourself square, get yourself stable with your breath, and contract through the hamstring and glute to float the leg off the ground. Good, okay, let's try and set ourselves back into plank. Remember, this is just practice. We want to feel in our plank that we aren't getting up into our shoulders and neck. So imagine again that you're squeezing through your armpits, carrying all of that weight in your stability from pelvis through your shoulders in whatever format that you can. Belly button lifting, rib cage closing. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Okay, let's have a seat again for our torso twists. And this will be our last element. So we aren't going to go through 3 rounds here. I see we're running short of time, and I want to honor our time together, and I also want to give us time to stretch. So instead of crossed arms, for those of you that are ready for this, we're gonna go to ballerina arms. So my arms are rounded and rigid. My shoulders are down, my neck is relaxed, and I'm gonna do that same twisting and same stability, just with my arms extended like a ballerina. And again, as I exhale, then I twist. And my back lat is helping to twist. Five. And 6. Good, okay, come back to center. All right, take a second here, get some water if you need to before we start stretching. Great job, guys. That ended up being a pretty complete workout. I'm surprised that we went as long as we did. All right, so if you're ready, let's go ahead and start our stretching. Okay, the first thing I want you to do is find your seat. So I'm seated on my sit bones, and I'm gonna extend my arms down toward my hips, and I'm gonna exhale as I reach up overhead and return back down. And I'm imagining that my arms are like rays of the sun, extending as far away from my midline as I can. And with my last one, I'm gonna grasp my fingers together at the top, and I'm gonna open up one side, feeling a nice long stretch through my ribs, and return to center, and go lean toward the other direction, return to center, and let's do one more, opening up to the side and center, and now to the other side, and return to center. And now I'm gonna take my arms extended overhead, and I'm gonna slowly melt my chest toward my knees. Let your head fall between your knees as you're able. Now draw your belly button in and slowly start pulling your core back up into a nice neutral position. Let's go ahead and do that one more time. Extend arms up overhead. Exhale as you fold forward, bringing your rib cage and chest down towards your knees. Let your head go dead and dangle between your legs. Let your chest go soft. The area between your shoulder blades go soft. Take a couple nice breaths in this position. And then as you're ready to return to a seated position, draw that belly button in and utilize your core strength to pull your spine back up into a neutral position, restacking one vertebrae at a time. Well, thank you for joining me in class today, everybody. The next class will be Thursday at the same time and the same Zoom code. And also, I will be posting this class up on YouTube. So if you go to youtube.com and then do a search on Coco Denver, you should find our channel. And if you click on the Coco Denver channel, you can find videos from all of the classes that I'm live streaming. I'm recording all of them. So you'll find my Monday, Wednesday, Friday HIIT class. You'll find this Strong and Steady class, and then you'll find my Sunday stretch class and any others that I dream up. So thank you for coming, and I look forward to seeing you again on Thursday.